Hail YouTube, Dominions, Dumentites, and Arch-villains! Thank you all for supporting me in my effort to save pop culture. And I would ask you please make sure you are still subbed, turn on your notification bell, and if you are not subscribed, please consider doing so. This channel could use your support. Thank you, and enjoy this video. Greetings, my friends. I am Dictor Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, and I have been sent some information that may spell a glimmer of hope for the Star Trek franchise. As you know, once upon a time, Star Trek went boldly where no show had gone before, presenting a bright, shining vision of an optimistic future for mankind. Unfortunately, Alex Kurtzman didn't much care for that vision, and so over the course of 3 seasons of 2 series, along with a bunch of other phony announcements of series and movies that will never happen, Star Trek has become a twisted and hideous mockery of everything it once stood for, with sonar in space for dummies, severed baby heads for sickos, and F-bombs for those with the attention spans of severed baby heads. I have never personally seen anything as relentlessly stupid, as pathetically inept, as viscerally revolting as Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard. With the announcement that Star Trek Picard was renewed for Season 2, it appeared that all hope was lost. But that was before this emergency that cannot be named on YouTube laid the stock market low and reality came knocking at the door to Viacom CBS headquarters with a pocket full of long-term financial obligations coming due that drained their coffers. We live in interesting times, my friends. What I'm about to share with you has been sent to me from one of my key sources, who claims that before they presented me with this information, they had it confirmed with at least 2 independent sources themselves, and that's why, after sitting on this information for a while, I've decided to present it to you with the following disclaimer. What I'm about to share with you is information that I cannot independently verify, and therefore you should absolutely regard this as unverified rumor, and you should take it with a grain of salt. That said, my source informs me that Viacom CBS is badly in need of funds. For a wide variety of reasons, reality is compounding on the door at CBS. Despite claims that Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard have been successful for CBS, the facts speak for themselves. Neither Picard nor Discovery have inspired licensees to get on board. There's been a dearth of Star Trek merchandise in stores for years now, and longtime fans of the franchise have been alienated by the stunningly bad scripts, the dark tone Kurtzman has imposed on the shows with F-bombs, severed baby heads, and gouged out eyes, and the hideous ship and costume designs that resemble twisted parodies more than loving tributes. By all outward appearances, at the very least, Star Trek is not the profit center it once was. Compounding the financial difficulties this fundamental attack on Roddenberry's optimistic vision of humanity's future has imposed on Viacom CBS, the stock market has not been kind to the newly merged company this year. The decline in stock price beginning even before the plunge related to the current emergency, and now Viacom CBS is rumored to be facing some hard fiscal choices. Evidently, the merger of Viacom and CBS was approved on the condition the newly merged company remained fiscally solvent, and so, in light of the current financial situation, some steps may need to be taken to ensure the newly merged company will not be broken up again. My source claims that for whatever reason, selling Simon & Schuster has proven to be undesirable or unfeasible. Certain financial obligations came due for Viacom CBS that left them strapped for funds. The stock value continues to be problematic even beyond the scope of the current emergency situation, even though the stock has risen somewhat from its precipitous low. It still remains about half of what it was 6 months ago. And thus, CBS is seriously discussing the necessity of selling their one-time crown jewel, the Star Trek franchise, according to my source. Indeed, my source goes as far as to say, in their view, and in the view of their sources, selling Star Trek is actually a probability at this point. Why is this potentially an attractive option for Viacom CBS? Because the Kurtzman-Abrams Trek experiment has been an expensive and unprofitable enterprise for CBS. STD and Star TP have both proven to be extremely expensive shows to create, and it has not paid off for CBS as they hoped it would. Indeed, in a recent Forbes article discussing Viacom CBS's financial problems, the Star Trek franchise has not even been mentioned as a possible asset. In the past, the solution to the Kurtzman Star Trek problem has been to double down, renew more seasons, throw more money at it, announce new series that will never happen, and deny there are any problems. But now, due to tightening of the purse strings, this is apparently no longer a viable option for Viacom CBS. My source characterizes their view this way, quote, "It's an easy decision. Clearly, we fucked up, we can't unfuck what we fucked up, and it's going to cost us more money we can't afford to keep this IP, so best to sell it." According to my source, Star Trek Discovery has been canceled, or at the very least, the sets have been torn down, and anecdotally, my source informs me there's so little interest in JJ Trek, it took 3 whole weeks for a pirated version of that recent audiobook to wind up online. And what of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, formerly called Star Trek Enterprise, till someone who Googled Memory Alpha and or consulted someone who had actually watched Star Trek at some point in their lives pointed out, hey, there's already a series called Star Trek Enterprise. Huh, who knew? Well, Star Trek fans knew, but never mind. I have been informed that Star Trek Strange New Worlds was nothing but a pitch to try and interest investors, and that's all. From what I've heard, they never had the funds to make the show, and this was all a Hail Mary pass at getting someone, anyone, to invest in one last shot at success. Fortunately for fans, and unfortunately for Secret Hideout, I am told this investor pitch was sabotaged by the untimely appearance of Red Letter Media's Picard review extravaganza, which horrified potential investors who hadn't really understood the depth of Picard's failure. I am told that Amazon walked out of the meeting and that Amazon has no interest in paying for Strange New Worlds. I am similarly told that Netflix is likewise out of the Kurtzman Trek business. Indeed, my sources informed me that suddenly, confronted by the ugly truth of what they've done, Viacom CBS is freaking out. Reportedly, CBS has observed what AT&T has done with the Schneider Cut, and they are apoplectic, observing the reaction to the news that HBO Max will be releasing Zack Snyder's version of Justice League in response to fan demands. My source says, okay, CBS is freaked out at the moment. They were watching how people have been reacting to how AT&T have handled their launch of HBO Max. Actually listening to fan demands and concerns, they're building up so much goodwill, they have completely reformed their image and doubled what they expect in terms of signups for HBO Max. Now CBS is having a panic and is like, OMG, 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 what did we do? They begged us, we ignored them, and we burned every bit of goodwill. We lost so much money. Yeah. No shit, you dumbasses. Doomcock released a video over a year ago, an open letter to CBS extending an olive branch, begging investors to desist in destroying their own franchise. But as my source reports, CBS ignored the fans. What did we do? They begged us, we ignored them, and we burned every bit of goodwill. We lost so much money. That's what happens when corporations forget they are businesses and they start thinking they're social workers, political agitators, societal reformers. I wonder if your stockholders signed up for this, CBS. I wonder if your stockholders volunteered to sacrifice their profits and lay their investments on the altar of social justice warrior waste. Go woke, go broke isn't just a saying, it's a cliche. Because it's true, time and time again. They ignored fans. They mocked fans. Michael Chabon admitted to trolling fans with Tribble cereal, with Spock singing and laughing. A fool that persists in his folly will become wise occasionally, but will more often become broke. Netflix has washed their hands of Kurtzman Trek. Amazon wants nothing to do with it. Licensees have walked away from the franchise now, and fans no longer give a damn after they watch their hero Picard turned into JL, a pathetic old man stumbling all over himself to scrape and grovel to everyone for his privilege and inability to save everyone from everything in a show that was more an apology tour than Star Trek. CBS, did you seriously think we wanted to see our hero degraded, feeble, apologetic, and beaten down, then literally killed and turned into a damn robot, all within the space of 13 minutes in the final episode? Picard shattered the hopes and dreams of a generation of Star Trek fans who paid for Star Trek and instead got a lecture by a bunch of fusty school marms afflicted with white guilt, utter ignorance of what Star Trek is, and an appalling lack of talent. What did you expect, CBS? When we extend an olive branch and you slap it out of our hands, we pick it up and we shove it up your collective ass. Or did you think fans are so feeble we would just keep taking the insults, the scorn, the abuse, keep opening our wallets like an abused spouse with nowhere to go? Nope. The sorry state of Star Trek right this minute is the direct result of a corporation stubbornly insisted on trying to sell people garbage they don't want. You wind up doing things like issuing press release after press release about shows that don't get made, shows that aren't funded, hoping to drum up investment with positive press. It doesn't work. To sell something, you need a market for it. And the market for Star Trek is all but dead. This is what happens when you spit in the face of your loyal fans. I have said it from the start. Strange New Worlds would go the way of Section 31. Nowhere. So what's next for Star Trek? Is there any hope left at all? Even in its degraded state, Star Trek remains a potentially profitable IP, provided it is pried out of the incompetent hands of Secret Hideout. A lot of money could be raised in the sale, and in the process, Viacom CBS could finally solve their bad robot Secret Hideout problem. I've heard all sorts of contradictory information about Viacom CBS's relationship with Kurtzman. Some claim that CBS has purchased 49% of Secret Hideout, which could be seen as a vote of confidence, as could the fact that they have ordered a season of Clarice from Kurtzman, while other sources claim Viacom CBS is trying to separate Kurtzman from the Star Trek franchise, arbitrating with him for an early exit, a move that purportedly isn't working out because Kurtzman is making unreasonable demands. I can't independently verify either of those statements. But the good news for Star Trek fans in all this is that according to my source, the contracts with Kurtzman and Abrams would be unlikely to survive the sale of the franchise. They would likely be paid out and sent packing, and so if another company purchases Star Trek, they would be free to actually make Star Trek. They could really do anything they wanted. Declare STD and P-Hard to be alternate universe nightmares. They could make Star Trek that looks like Star Trek. They could revive the moribund franchise and revitalize it with the kind of stories that would have made Roddenberry proud. At this point, you may well be asking the question, is there anyone who would want to buy Star Trek after all the damage Kurtzman has done to it? My friends, according to my source, there are at least 3 parties interested in acquiring Star Trek. Indeed, my source tells me that 3 studios have approached CBS who expressed their interest. These are hard times, folks. May you live in interesting times, the old curse goes. Well, it is very interesting right now in Hollywood. Viacom CBS does appear to be under severe financial pressure, with market losses and some additional financial burdens that have happened. They may have no choice but to sell Star Trek in order to keep Viacom CBS unified and economically viable. Although I am no financial advisor, Trek as it currently stands seems badly battered and terribly degraded to these sad eyes. If Viacom CBS could get rid of Kurtzman and Abrams, declare STD and Star TP to be delusions created by Q, and bring someone like Bear or Moore on to make some genuine Star Trek moving forward, it would behoove them to retain the franchise if at all possible. But in its current state, with Kurtzman lowering the intelligence of the franchise and the viewing public, with idiotic, ugly, stupid swill, unfit for a brain-damaged donkey who used to huff spray paint in the circus. Star Trek is worse than worthless. It is a millstone around Viacom CBS's corporate neck, sucking them down to the bottom of Lake Fuckaduck. All we want is good Star Trek. That's apparently been too much to ask of CBS then, and Viacom CBS now. But it might not be too much to ask of a new company that would boldly go where Roddenberry once went before. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.